Okay, so to make the cap, we need about 3 of these pieces. These are a little more than 1 inch by 1 inch squares. And I need 2 rings for the top and 1 ring for the bottom for the cap. And this is 0.020 brass. I bought this as a 6-inch sheet by 6 inch on Amazon, of course, where America shops, it seems. So anyway, I'm going to cut these off using the metal bandsaw blade on my little Delta Shopmaster. And you've seen this before. And then after we cut these off in pieces, I'm going to actually cut them in sections of 2. That way it's a little bit more stable for what I'm doing when I'm drilling these out. Okay, so I have 3 of these cut and drilled out and ready to go. To make this cap, we're going to use the top diagram here for the cap, and I'm starting out with a piece of 3-inch ebonite, which that's this way here. Now this is black and gray Japanese ebonite, and the grain direction is running to this end here. And when I make the body, I'm gonna make sure that the grain direction also follows the same direction. So starting out with this in the chuck, I have my 1/2-inch drill bit here inside, and we're gonna drill this out 2 3/8 inches deep, and that's what this is marked here. Okay, now we're going to clean it up with a 33/64 drill bit, the same depth. Okay, now I just want to make sure that end is nice and flat. And then I'm going to taper the inside just a little bit, and then the outside. Done. Now we can run the tap on the inside. So we're just going to tap that real quick. Okay, so if we look at this, we can see that that is done. The threads are in there. The front is I've got a small chamfer on that. Like I said, this is 3 inches long, and my little tool that I always use for everything, if I check the depth, I can see that I'm exactly where I want to be on that cap, on that line on the cap. And if I look at my drawing, which is actually to scale, I'm right at the end where I want to be, right there. So far everything is looking good. So now we just need to put this on the mandrel. I'm using a double start thread, and then I need to define the shoulder, which is going to be 5/16 to here, and then we're going to turn the rest of this down to 19/32 on the outside diameter. Okay, so this is marked roughly 5/16 here, and then I've got a small section over here for the shoulder. And if we look at the diagram again, I want to start my cut for the shoulder right here, past that, because I don't want to cut into this and then basically open up that end. So I need to leave like 1/8 of an inch gap. And if you can see it on the model, this will make things a little bit more clear. I want my shoulder here. I don't want it right there, so I don't want to cut into it. And because of where that step is for the drill bit, I need to leave a little bit of room right there. So as always, I always make sure I start with a sharp tool, and I have on the appropriate safety glasses. Okay, had to let that blank cool off a little bit. It gets a little warm. Once it gets warm, it gets a little soft. So I need to wet sand this a little bit. Testing the fit, part of it goes in there okay, but it still needs to, still fights quite a bit, so I still need some more sanding. But I want to do that and keep it cool, so I need it wet before I turn down that foot on the very back end there. Okay, now let's look at the back side of the pin. This is a spacer here. Of course, I've got my homemade rings. Now I just need to, this is where I'm going to start my shoulder. So I'm going to mark that, and then we'll cut that down to 1/4 of an inch. So that looks like it's still going to be 1/4 by 1/4. So I need to make this trim ring first. This is just regular black ebonite, but I want it to be the same gray swirl pattern. So I have a small piece of ebonite in here, the black and gray, and we're going to drill this out with a 1/2 inch and then step it up to the 19/32, and then we'll part it off that same thickness, which is about 3/16 of an inch. No, maybe 1/8. And in case I need to make more, I just want to be sure that I have this whole blank, or more than half of the blank ready for me to use. All I have to do is just chuck it in, and I can just cut off a nice clean piece. And of course, if you had a metal lathe, this process would be so much faster and easier. So now we'll get a nice faced edge on that. It looks like it's pretty good, but I just want to be sure. I double checked it, and that is 1/8 inch thick. So we'll go ahead and cut that off right there. Using my thin parting tool. And then I'll just sand that down to make sure it's nice and flat. Okay, you can see how that looks. Like that, and you can hear the cap. This is the side. This is the side here going to the body. Okay, now it's time to put the blank together. We've got all of our components in hand. Each of these have been sanded on both sides. Remember, this is 19/32 diameter. These are drilled out to 19/32. This cap part here on the line on the inside goes towards the body. And the grain direction of the blank is running the opposite direction. So this goes there. This one is the little cap ring. This goes on the very end piece. This is the piece I made off camera real quick. This is drilled out, faced on one side and dimpled on the back. And the grain direction again is running the opposite direction. It's running the same direction as the body of the body of the cap. So we'll go ahead and jam that together. not super tight yet. Now, the first time I did this is actually the second blank I made, because I tried to build it component-wise, put some glue, stack it, put some more glue, and then this actually froze to the ebonite right away, so I had to re-drill it out, make it all over, start with a whole new body and cap. This would have been just black ebonite, but I ran out of that, so I switched to black and gray, which looks really good also. There's really going to be hard to line up the grain pattern from here to here, but it kind of looks okay. So that's the problem with segmenting ebonite. You're never going to get anything exactly right. So just using thin CA glue, no accelerator. That's why I have this pad down here. And I'm just going to flood the blank top to bottom and in between, and let that do its magic on its own. And then that'll seep down in there and fill the cracks. And I want to leave that void on the inside. I'm not gonna fill that with anything like a waterfall pen. That is going to be for a different design of mine in the future, making a waterfall pen, and that'll probably be posted before this video. So we're just going to let this cure slowly. Now make sure this is clamped down. Now I'm going to clamp down with some pressure on the tailstock, and then I'm just going to let that gas off on its own, and then that should be good to go in a day or two, but I won't get a chance to do it for a couple days. So, but anyway, we'll come back to it when that's dry. Okay, it's been a couple of days since I've been out here, and we're getting ready to turn on this. Everything's nice and dry, looks really good. I replaced the carbide cutter on my turning tool, and then now we're just going to go ahead and turn this down. I would normally take this to my bandsaw and then just try and cut off these big excess metal pieces, but the tire is broken on my bandsaw and I'm waiting for that to come in, so unfortunately I just have to turn these off with this right here. So like I said earlier, if you have a metal lathe, this process would be so much easier. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and start on this and see how this goes. Because we're turning metal, please be sure you're wearing safety glasses or a face shield. So as you can see, I'm taking a very shallow cut here, and I'm just working the tool slowly, almost like a push cut. But I'm just walking it very slow into that, and then when I get over here, I'm going to do the same thing, but almost like a pull cut. I'm just going to reverse it, going the other direction. And these little chips like to fly, so that's why I said, you know, you should always wear at least safety glasses. So just be aware of that. If you don't have a face shield and you're only wearing safety glasses like I am, just be aware that these little chips fly, and don't stick your head any closer than you have to. so now when it comes to wood, I don't like using carbide on wood. And one of the problems with this right here is you can see you're starting to get a little bit of tear out. I want to eliminate as much tear out as possible. So I want to relieve these edges first. I want to sand those down. So I'm going to switch this out, put in my sanding disc, sand those edges, all 4 edges, relieve that pressure so I don't get any tear out. And I don't get any separation from here where it's glued together. I'm just going to go and do that real quick off camera. Okay, when I took this off, I had to re-glue this tailpiece back on, so you see a little bit of the CA glue right there. But I got that taken care of. All those edges have been relieved. Now, carbide for me doesn't do very well with wood, so I'm switching back over to steel. Steel does really good with wood. When I'm turning it, I get a lot less chip out and so forth. So we'll go ahead and use this to define that cap. Okay, that's starting to look pretty good. We'll go ahead and do it a little bit more, and then because I can't make this very thick or very thin, rather, not too much thinner than the actual body of the cap itself, the 18 millimeters. Okay, now when it comes to the thickness of this body, I am using my old pen, one of the last ones I made in a series. I'm going to be basing it off of this thickness right here where the ring is. And if that is set right there like that. I'm using my digital caliper so you can read that. It is 17¼ millimeters. So that is the thickness that I'm going for here all the way across. Okay, that's pretty much the desired thickness that I want there. Now, you can see how thin that wood is, so I don't really want to get in there with a tool any closer than that. So now I'm just going to do the final shaping with the sandpaper. And this is going to be a long process, so that will be done off camera. Okay, so that's how it looks like right now with some rough sanding up to 800. This pencil mark here represents the length of the cap that I want, so I just need to part this off right here. The inside depth of the cap is to that first ring, and you can see that like there. So I've got plenty of room to add my clip, which will be over here on this side in the middle. Between the butterfly keys. So that'll look pretty good. And then we'll part that off next. Okay, so let's take a look at that. And that has been sanded, not wet sanded, but just sanded. Just up to about 800 grit. And I am really digging the way that looks so far. So wet sanding will just basically polish up the top and the bottom, and will make that gray grain in the black pop out. So you'll be able to see that a little bit better. Well, actually a lot better. So anyway, I'm not going to really do too much with the inside right there. I really don't have anything to get inside that and clean that up any better than that. but that will just have to do, being that this is just a concept pen. I'm liking the way it looks. All right, here's how it looks so far. It's just wet sanded, and that looks pretty good. And I'm just gonna take a few days of rubbing some tongue oil finish on it, and we'll just go from there. And then I'll make the clip and put the clip on, so the next time I come back, it'll have multiple layers of finish and a clip on it. So from my drill press, I have it hanging, and I put one coat so far of the Samalouf oil finish. I checked my tongue oil and it was dry. I guess it's been several years since I opened it, since I moved. So I'm using Samalouf oil finish instead, and a couple more coats of that and we'll be good to go. Okay, so it's been a long project getting to this point, getting to the cap. Several different variations made along the way. I tried a double ring here on top. I'm not too sure if I like that or not yet. Let me know what you think in the comments. The black and gray ebonite doesn't really show very good in this light, but it looks really good. You'll see that in the pictures on the cover. But I'm really happy with the way this looks overall. Like I said, this is just a prototype concept pen. Different variation I'm going to make will probably be a little bit better, but just different. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Have a great day. Hey, this is Gabriel Castro. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. You can click on the link right here and subscribe. You can watch a video series right here, or the latest video right here.